Thank you for attending our webinar this afternoon on Nutanix. My name is Rowe, Pre-Sales Director over here at Vista IT Group. Vista has been around for about 33 years, and over those 33 years, we've serviced over 8,000 customers across 4 continents. And last year alone, we shipped over 25,000 orders. We have a few core competencies that we like to focus on. The webinar that we are holding today for Nutanix falls squarely into our data center competency, but we also have some pretty cool capabilities in supply chain and technology services. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about these competencies, please reach out to your account manager and we can help you out. So, jumping into Nutanix. Nutanix was founded in 2009 and shipped their first hyperconverged product in 2012. While Nutanix is still a young company, it's one of the fastest growing enterprise IT organizations of all time. There are more than 10,000 customers across 140 countries, across 6 continents, and more than 600 of those organizations are Global 2000 companies. Nutanix has been pretty fortunate to see success in every major industry. This success comes from the versatility of the platform and the ability to power just about any application. We can provide industry-specific references and configuration overviews for just about any vertical. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about those, we can most certainly dig some of those up and get them out to you. Gartner is an independent ratings organization. They recently published their first Magic Quadrant report for hyperconverged infrastructure. As you can see, Gartner analysts have not only put Nutanix in the leader quadrant, which is kind of the top right hand corner there, but also recognize them as the leader in an organization that has the strongest ability to execute and most complete vision for hyperconverged infrastructure. And on the left-hand side here, you can see that there are some pretty glowing reviews of the platform, and these reviews came directly from customers to Gartner, and Nutanix was in no way in the middle of providing these references. IDC is another independent ratings organization, and you can see some pretty high numbers here on the average payback, TCO, and ROI, and these are hard costs. But what we'd really like to focus on and what we see as the real value, which is the simplified management, fewer outages, resiliency, and all of these key things keep IT employees out of the business of supporting infrastructure and focusing on the current fire for the day and refocusing their efforts on things and tasks that can have a positive effect on your business, your operations, and ultimately your customers. We're going to talk about some software and hardware options here in just a little bit, but before we dive into some of those things, I'd like to spend a minute on support. Not every day is sunny day operations. There are rainy days every once in a while, so it's really nice to have a pretty solid foundation for support behind you. Nutanix has one of the highest net promoter scores in the industry. A lot of that has to do with the support team. To put that into perspective, the average software company has an NPS score of 30. And an NPS score of 90 plus is almost unheard of, especially across the last 5 years or so. There are a few things that really helps Nutanix drive that support excellence. All Nutanix support engineers are full-time employees. You won't talk to a contract person, and this is in contrast to some of the other larger enterprise IT organizations out there who are in the process or who have currently outsourced some or all of their Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 support mechanisms and processes and personnel. And also, Nutanix does not employ a tiered support model. There's a site reliability engineer that takes the initial support request, and this engineer will handle the case until resolution. So customers are never waiting for handoffs between support teams or waiting for a callback when something is escalated from tier 1 to tier 2 to review logs, and they'll get back to you and check with tier 3 and potentially escalate it to tier 3. No tiered support model, and you do have that one SRE that is going to walk that case through from start to finish. And with that, only Nutanix customers decide when a case is resolved and resolved to their satisfaction. Nutanix does not close support tickets on their own. And lastly, the SRE teams leverage Nutanix Pulse, which is a platform to proactively address support issues, sometime without the customer calling or opening up a support ticket. So here's a brief overview of the Nutanix portfolio. We'll cover each one of these in a bit more detail as the presentation continues. Here on the left-hand side, there are two foundational products in the Nutanix solution, Acropolis and Prism. Acropolis is the data fabric that converges compute, storage, and virtualization to run any application at any scale. Prism is the unified management platform that can manage applications and infrastructure across different data centers and multiple clouds. A few of the additional and somewhat newer features here on the right-hand side are Flow, Calm, and Xi. Flow is a software-defined networking component in the Nutanix stack. It's somewhat new, and again, we'll discuss that in a bit more detail here in a moment. Calm is an automation platform that provides automation and lifecycle management across multiple clouds. And lastly, Xi Cloud Services, which ultimately incorporates a number of different products and functionalities. Xi has had a pretty recent overhaul, so there are some improvements and additions to this product set. And again, we'll touch on a few of them here in just a moment. The Nutanix Enterprise Cloud has been built with a single cohesive stack that integrates all infrastructure resources with a scalable management plane for managing both infrastructure and applications. It's built on the most advanced and popular hyperconverged foundation, combining scale-out storage services, server compute, and enterprise data protection. What's really unique to Nutanix is the ability to choose just about any common hypervisor, including ESXi, as well as a native virtualization that's built into the product called Nutanix AHV. So diving into a few of the individual components. Hyperconvergence is at the core of just about every enterprise cloud. Instead of standalone storage networking, and server infrastructure, Hyperconverged brings all of them together into a single software-defined stack. The Nutanix solution is built on web-scale technologies that power some of the largest data centers on the planet. While HCI as a category is fairly popular now, what truly differentiates Nutanix is the fact that it's a 100% distributed system with no single point of failure, with almost unlimited scalability and support for any use case. Deployments can start with a single node and can scale up to hundreds of nodes seamlessly. Performance and capacity grow every time a node is added. And depending on what you need as a customer, the nodes can be compute heavy, storage heavy, a combination of both. And what that means is you can add only the capacity and the performance that you want to add. With a building block or Lego-like model, infrastructure provisioning and expansion becomes extremely simple. And finally, with VM-centric data protection, applications are protected within the data center, to a remote data center, or somewhere in the public cloud of your choice. The core hyperconverged solution will work across all of the major hypervisors, HyperV, VMware vSphere, and Citrix Xen Server, enabling customers, our customers and Nutanix customers to choose the hypervisor that they would like to run in this environment. AHV is a KVM-based hypervisor, comes built into every Nutanix solution at no extra cost. There's very tight integration with Prism for management and provisioning. And if you choose now or decide down the road, you can start running VMware or HyperV and convert that environment over to AHV to reduce complexity and recurring costs. Automation requirements have really driven the need for these one-click operations. This helps not only reduce the time required to manage and deploy infrastructure, but also vastly reduces the number of outages caused by human error. Capacity planning and just-in-time forecast are powered by a machine intelligence engine called XFIT. These machine learning powered operations enable IT teams to stay ahead of the curve in terms of planning infrastructure so that businesses never run out of capacity. If we kind of move down to the bottom of the stack here, the next piece we're going to talk about is networking. As I've said before, the solution removes the need for some of these individual hardware components like networking and storage and things like that, and combines it into a single platform. And we're going to continue that with Flow. So we no longer have a requirement for standalone storage networking switches and no more fiber channel switches or cabling. We can use your existing top-of-rack switches for both storage and our traditional LAN Ethernet communications. The solution works with any standard 1 or 10 gig Ethernet switches. When we're talking about Flow and the software-defined networking capabilities here, the features don't stop with kind of the ability to put both sets of traffic on a single set of switches. We're also going to be able to include some of the most common SDN and security solutions that customers are asking for. End-to-end networking visibility within Prism. So again, back to that management platform, if we're taking a look at running Flow with that, you'll be able to view the connectivity of the virtual machines to the underlying hardware infrastructure as well as the health of that connection. Common networking issues related to VLAN configurations, down port, manual configuration issues can be diagnosed and rectified. When you start kind of combining a number of these different disciplines, it's been our experience with our customers that there are not a lot of folks out there that can go really deep in networking and really deep in virtualization, and this kind of puts all of those kind of management and configuration capabilities into a single platform and really make it easy to understand and identify where those issues are. We also have the ability to add some automation and orchestration capabilities, as well as automatic configuration of networking services based on changes in our application environment. And lastly, and this is probably one of the most requested capabilities when we're talking about software-defined networking, and that's securing east-west traffic through the native microsegmentation capabilities. Moving on here, we've kind of created this really solid foundation. We made infrastructure management one click, but that's not really why we're here. I don't know anybody that I've worked with in my IT career here that really has just wanted to buy servers and storage and networking infrastructure, have the blinky lights and the heat and the power consumption in their data center. It's really going to be applications that drive the hardware and the performance and the security requirements. And that's when we start taking a look at Calm, which is an application automation platform, to help free up a lot of management resources. By focusing on the applications, we can again bring that one-click philosophy and turn complex operations like database backups, maintenance tasks, upgrades, provisioning into turnkey operations. By adding policy-based governance and enhanced self-service capabilities, we can turn the isolated domain knowledge into tracked and logged operations that can be pushed out to users or other admins and guarantee the right result every time. I think a lot of us in our environment all have that database or application guy or gal that holds the reins for a lot of these repetitive operational tasks. By moving these tasks and operations into an automation platform, we can free up some of their time, and we can also protect the business if they choose to leave and take all that domain knowledge with them, and they may or may not leave documentation after they're gone to really understand what's going on in that infrastructure. I'm repeating myself a bit, but this really also helps reduce the possibility of having an outage as a result of human error. Again, one of the leading causes of outages in our infrastructures is human error. And going back to an automation platform where these tasks and procedures are defined and we can approve them in an appropriate manner, we get the expected result every single time. Let's run through a quick example. Back in 2012, AWS experienced an outage on Christmas Eve. This was most clearly noticed when Netflix went down. In AWS's postmortem of the event, it was discovered that one of the few engineers with access to the production infrastructure and code, and ultimately one of their best engineers, accidentally deleted a configuration when making a change. Amazon determined that in order to avoid this in the future, they were replacing all access with automation. Automation really is the only way to guarantee that a change was intended, properly authorized, properly tracked, and properly documented. Lastly, let's take a look at Xi. So fewer and fewer companies are running just a single cloud, whether it's a private cloud with hardware they own in their own data center, or we're looking at public cloud services in AWS or Azure. There was a big push a few years ago to move everything to the cloud. What we found out with a lot of our customers is that not all workloads belong in the cloud, and not all workloads, if they do belong in the cloud all the time. So now we have the challenge of managing and maintaining our infrastructure and our applications across multiple clouds. That's where Xi comes into play. We can bring the management and deployment of the applications, regardless of the cloud, into a single management interface. There's also a pretty cool cost analysis tool that allows you to evaluate your apps to see which cloud is most cost effective or which cloud is going to best run your application, whether it's a Nutanix infrastructure in the data center your own or AWS. And one point that I'd like to focus on here real quick is one of the primary cloud use cases our customers approach us with is disaster recovery. It's great because the cloud is great for the burstable applications, something you're not going to run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And disaster recovery kind of fits that to a T. So Xi Leap allows customers to build their DR plans for workloads running on their Nutanix clusters to be recovered on a data center infrastructure operated by Nutanix. So that wraps up our overview of the full stack, and I'd like to take a minute to kind of remind everybody, or at least bring it up for the first time, that our intention here really is for this to be an introduction or a refresher for our current customers that are not running Nutanix, or potentially a Nutanix customer that might not have seen some of the new capabilities like Xi and Calm and Flow. We really would like this to be the beginning of the conversation. So we kind of sped through a bunch of those slides in the last 20 minutes or so. And if we didn't cover some of your specific use cases, please feel free to engage us and make sure that, and we want to make sure that we can address all of those questions. So we've got a few wrap-up slides here. When you look at Nutanix, you can see pretty much also from the slide that you can run just about any application on Nutanix. So when we look at kind of some of the, I'm going to go on the slide from left to right here. Network attached storage appliances have been a great solution for file server deployments. but unfortunately they can be kind of complex to set up and operate and can potentially require some specialized skills. With Nutanix, we've got integrated file services, AFS, so our customers can eliminate another infrastructure silo and run it all on the Nutanix platform. AFS uses the same scale-out underlying platform that can be scaled out or scaled up very easily. Acropolis block services, or ABS, can be used to present volumes to physical workloads in your environment. It uses a single target address, and just like all the other services, there isn't a single point of failure. Every Nutanix node supports ABS, so redundancy and scalability is just a core part of the feature set. So the platform can provide file services, run current generation virtualized workloads such as SQL and SAP and Oracle, traditional or non-legacy non-virtualized workloads, with high performing, scalable, and reliable platform. This meets and exceeds the requirements for many of our customers, but we still have a few out there where this might not be all they need in their environment. So to focus on kind of that last slide, the cloud native and next generation platforms, these are really forcing the industry to rethink the underlying infrastructure. And Nutanix has support for some of those next generation services like Docker and Kubernetes. So this last slide I really goes well with the story that Vista has been kind of telling our customers and really kind of putting into action over a number of years. We have been able to provide our customers with many options for procuring hardware. So kind of our customers choose how they get their hardware, and we've got a lot of options for them. Nutanix offers customers the ability to combine that with their choice of hypervisor and cloud. These solutions are offered in a couple of different ways. So you can get a pre-configured appliance from Nutanix or an OEM manufacturer like Lenovo that you can procure through Vista. Or if you'd like to take more of a build your own approach using Nutanix software, your hardware of choice, whether it's from Vista or it's already in your environment. And lastly, you can choose your cloud. So whether it's AWS, Azure, GCP, or the Xide Cloud Services by Nutanix. As I mentioned earlier, with the ability to change your hypervisor from ESXi to AHV in the future, the ability to build your own infrastructure based on the hardware that you want. And so if it's Dell today and maybe down the road Cisco is a better fit for your organization. If you end up choosing the build your own approach and you procure the software separately from the hardware, you really have ultimate flexibility in your operating environment. So the Nutanix solution is all about choice across the entire spectrum. This is really what differentiates Nutanix from the other solutions out there in the market. You have the ability to make the choices that are best for your organization when those choices are best for your organization, and you can still build an entire stack end to end with Nutanix.